Grand Rising and greetings from the galactic beyond. I'm Mina the Andromedan, and today I am here to give a talk about hybrids, genetic hybrids, embodiments, walk-ins, and twin rays. Lots of stuff to cover. So I want to thank you all for joining. I'm so blessed and honored to be here today and share space with you and share energy with you and just be in this great time, this magical place and time on Earth where we're on the cusp of ascending. So many things are in great play here. And each and every one of you is very vital to this ascension process. Just know that you're here in divine alignment where you should be, exactly in the place where you need to be. So I thank you and I honor you and I show great gratitude for you being here. So who am I? I know some of you, I recognize a lot of faces, and I know a lot of you may know me from the global meditations that I do in partnership with Gaia and a lot of great people in the community. I'm an Andromedan, Archangelic, Lyran Hybrid. Really, I am a hybrid of all the races that I've incarnated as. That's what a hybrid soul is, but we'll get more into that later. I sit the Andromedan High Council. I was sent here to Earth to basically help humanity realize its potential and help on the ascension trajectory to choose the highest timeline for each individual. I'm a part of the Emerald Order and the Central Race. That basically precedes the creation of this universe and the creation of all universes in the Omniverse or the Oventon. I remember all my past life incarnations I have since I was born. So I was born with all previous memories intact. I've had lives as an Archangel, Lyran, Andromedan, Pleiadian, then Talking Mermaid, Sirius B, Speaking, Procyon. And these are all lives I remember. And in this universe, I remember my previous universes as well. Of course, I'm a light language channeler. I am a channeler of messages. I don't really do trance channeling except for the Pleiadians. I offer readings. I do light language healing, DNA activations. I do a galactic history report. It's an origin. So it takes 2 hours, and basically I go over every incarnation you've had from the moment you fractaled from Source and to your current life now, all of your gifts, all your karmic incarnations, karmic connections, and how it relates to this life. I'll know if you have karmic relationships you're in. I'll know if you've got twin flame, twin ray connections that will be manifesting at this time. So basically, I use all of my abilities to help. Can I take this off? Yeah. I'm a wanderer, so. I like to move around. I have a lot of energy that runs through me at all times. I'm constantly pouring energy into Gaia and accepting energy from above, from the ships. So I constantly have to be on the move. Thank you. Thank you. So I use all of these abilities that I've had. The majority of them I've had since birth. So I basically am going to get into what are the different types of advanced beings on Earth at this time. And those usually manifest as hybrid souls. So hybrid souls, which is what I am, there's genetic hybrids, embodiments, and walk-ins. So a lot of these you might be familiar with, but we're going to dive deep into what each of these are, what are their characteristics, what does it mean to be one, how can you tell if you are one, and so what, So the first one we're going to talk about is hybrid soul characteristics. So as a hybrid soul, basically what that means is that you are born with all of your past incarnations integrated into this life. So that may manifest as you having all of your memories intact. If you're a high density being in this incarnation, you will have all memories intact. But that doesn't necessarily make it a prerequisite to be a hybrid soul. If you are don't have a lot of fragments from your higher density self in this incarnation, you may not have your memories. You may have some. You may have glimpses, or you might think that they're dreams that you've been having since you were younger. Another way that you can tell is your etheric numbers will be off the charts. So if you're a regular starseed, they'll be in the 5.5 range. Mine are about 15, and this is verifiable by other people. I don't do the etheric numbers. So basically you'll have strong genetic anomalies presented from birth that you're born with, immune to various diseases, viruses. I'm immune to rubella, flu, and their vaccines. This is all testable, quantifiable by science. You'll have particular genetic bloodlines that are predetermined to hold more soul fragments of high density being in earth form. So my genetics is very, very strange. My family on my mother's side comes, her father was a refugee from the Holocaust. He was a survivor. So we're Ashkenazi on that side. Then she comes from Scandinavian. So we have Norwegian Viking and Finland, and then also royalty all on her side, and Native American. Then on my father's side, we have royalty from the French-Spanish side, as well as Native American. So basically, every major monarch is in my bloodline. So the reason for that is because I'm sent to heal those bloodlines. There is so much trauma that happened during those times. I mean, we know the kind of corruption and just, blood and war that went with those bloodlines. So that all needs to be transmuted and healed. So they send us basically to these traumatic bloodlines to help kind of resolve those issues, integrate, and then heal them so that the rest of, humanity can ascend. So, just being here in this incarnation, you're automatically doing that, which is why a lot of hybrid souls will experience trauma when they're young. So you'll also strongly manifest 5D gifts that are observable or have been observed in the 3D. So I'm not talking about like 5D gifts like being psychic or telepathic. Those are a little bit more abstract. I'm talking about things that actually can be quantifiable by science. So like I can control electricity, and I can control and manipulate internet. Any type of electricity or energy I can manipulate in a very visible way. We had tech issues. We don't know anymore. So if it manifests like that, or if you're having internet issues, I can help that. So I have to do that for our global meditations when we're having tech issues. So as a multidimensional being, you can timeline jump, you can cruise throughout the different universes, parallel Earths. You do that in your astral travels. You have that ability to be that multidimensional. I've been to many different Earths, and they're sometimes very similar, and other times it's vastly different. But that's some of the gifts that you could have, being a multidimensional being. Usually you only deal with the higher density planes. So as you know, when you're a medium, you can kind of shift your frequency lower to be able to talk with lower density beings like spirits and things like that. You can shift into those lower density areas. Most hybrids cannot. They usually, because they have higher density fragments of soul in their being, they cannot shift lower. So you can perceive those densities, but you cannot, communicate with them. So you often have death experiences. So I've died 4 times, legally dead. You might have NDEs, near-death experiences. And the reason for this is because in order for a soul fragment to come back to you, you literally have to die. You have to cross over that threshold, and you have to receive it. So it has to be a traumatic experience so that you can integrate that soul fragment. And with that soul fragment will come more memories, more gifts, and kind of more resonance while you're here, basically pieces of your mission. And less soul fragments are needed. So there are some hybrids that have not had to go through that. They are born with 1 soul fragment. So you're born with 1. We're all fragments of higher dimensional beings that are in the astral realm. All of us are. But, the human vessel cannot hold higher dimensional fragments. I mean, if you're a 15 density being, you cannot inhabit a 3rd density body. You would just tear it apart because it's too much physicality. So you'll also have genetic markers that are quantifiable and verified by science. Like I have 4 cones in each eye. Most humans only have 3. It just means that I'm a tetrachromac, so I can see more colors. And so I think it's 18 colors I can see more. Like there's a color called blue-yellow. A lot of people can't perceive it. So sometimes when I'm looking at the sunset, I'm like, can't you see all these colors? And they're like, it's just pink and orange. And I'm like, what? There's so many more. So for a while, it was like crazy. And I had to go to optometrist, and they were like, yeah, and they tested my vision in the night, and my vision at night is 10/15, but in the daylight it's 20/25, so it's worse. And I have astigmatism too, so. Also, usually another big indicator is green eyes. Green eyes usually indicate a hybrid soul, especially if they're multicolored. So I have central heterochromia, so multiple colors in one eye. You might have rare recessive genes. I have a Siberian gene. Basically, that just means that my ancestors came from the Beringian Strait, so they can survive in sub-zero temperatures. So I'm hot all the time. So I'm like actually sweating up here, and everybody's like, it's cold. I'm like, not for me. So those can manifest in a lot of different ways. You might have issues with your thyroid, if you have hormone issues. If you notice that you have trouble assimilating to this earth environment, then that's how it will manifest. You might have high-level security precautions in place for protection against psychic attacks, astral intrusions, high-attuned energetic armor. So every, I should say, most starseeds have energetic armor. How that's different from an auric field is there's an auric field, which you have, which is kind of like your bodily, like chakra energy that connects to the quantum field, but you also have energetic armor, and that is like a protection against interdimensional beings, so, and psychic attacks and those astral intrusions. So you usually won't go through that. Now, the downside to that is that you may have trouble connecting with those interdimensional beings, like ghosts and things like that, because, the protection goes both ways. And so you might have to have things, taken and adjusted. So you might have been abducted, or you might have contact where they have to work on you and fix things like that, so that I could have contact with the archangels and the blue avians because they're interdimensional. So yeah, your memories remain intact from past life incarnations and your lives. Usually, they also hold high positions in councils, galactic alliances, or federations, even in the militaristic side. So commanders, things like that. Will also be hybrid souls. So another factor is that one of your parents, usually your mother, will often be worked on in ships to facilitate genetic modifications. This is almost always consensual. So usually, like, moms will talk about being visited by angels or being taken while they were pregnant, and they think it's a dream or something like that. That happened to my mom and actually a couple of speakers that have been in this event. So, and it's just because they're organically and energetically advancing the embryo to prepare it for that integration. So that is a little bit about the hybrid souls. So basically, it's an organic process. So we can think of it as literally, it's just your soul fragments integrating your past lives. So if we think about it as like layers, and all of these layers, which are multifaceted parts of our soul, if you compress them into one, which is how you become that multidimensional being, which all of us have that ability, and that's what the ascension process is. That's basically what a hybrid soul is. The difference is the hybrid soul is born this way. Okay, so genetic hybrids. Anybody is familiar with Sarah Bressman-Cosme? She does talk about the genetic hybrids, I believe, in her book. I haven't read her book, but I do know her. She is a friend of mine. And we did a hybrid interview talk about this. But genetic hybrids are a little different. So these are usually harvested eggs from women, either pre-contractual, so your higher self has agreed to go through this experience, or it's against universal law, and it's being against the free will of the woman, usually done by the NAA, the Negative Alien Agenda. And then these eggs are taken and then, up on a ship organically or genetically enhanced to make them more ET than human. So an ET or genetic program in cooperation with an ET race to genetically modify or enhance said egg or embryo with the genetics of ET origin, or by combining genetics from ETs. So the children may be taken and looked after. So usually the eggs are not returned. So they're harvested and cared for and energetically born in, you know, however they do it up there, which usually it's still organic, but it is very advanced, and it's done energetically, and kind of like these casings, and it's not tubes, it's not like down here, it's very much energetic. So these children are taken, looked after by this ET race, and they are either reunited with the parents or entered into a super soldier program. Often they can't pass for being human. So many can't survive on Earth without some kind of special care, because they are more ET than they are human. They can't pass for being human. They will not look very human. Often they will be used during the times of Atlantis. Actually, there was a lot of genetic hybrids, and they were master geneticists. They did use organic means of genetic modification, as well as other races that did the same, like the Anunnaki. So that's how some of these races were created. They're racial offshoots like the Lyran Vegans, the Lyran Avians, the Lyran Sheliak, and Sulafat, which are actually the kind of parent umbrella races for these. So by combining genetics from different other races, you got like the Syrians from Sirius A, and then you get the Lyran Vegans and the Avians, not the blue Avians, Lyran Avians. So yeah, definitely will not pass for human. But they're still humanoid, so they'll still have those humanoid aspects. So now we're going to talk about embodiments. So embodiments are really interesting. ET embodiments can be starseeds that have integrated their higher density version of themselves. So usually it's to perform a specific mission or gift to carry out a mission for their higher self. So they usually have a human form that welcomes the higher version of itself to take over for as long as the mission requires. So there's no time that's too short or too long for this to take place. The host is usually aware of the event and can coexist with the higher version, which is another key difference. During the embodiment, the host can manifest higher density abilities and manifest unique characteristics never before seen or exhibited. So suddenly during this embodiment, essentially the embodiment takes over. Oftentimes, a lot of channelers do experience this. It's basically the only reason that they can do that kind of channeling is because their higher density self or this ET embodiment steps in and takes over. And so that's kind of where we get that. So now we're going to talk about walk-ins. So there's some key differences, right? So a human soul will experience a soul trauma. So let's say this is pre-contractual, usually. So it's physical, so something traumatic happens like a car accident, some kind of intense trauma, emotional trauma that is too much for the soul to bear. And that human soul decides that they don't want to experience it. So the ET will come in and experience it and take over and lend their strength during that time. And in this agreement, the human will leave Earth, and the ET fragment will take over, and that will be the duration, or sometimes they will just be for that short time. But usually I would say that they stay, so usually the human doesn't come back. So usually it's only to conduct a specific mission, but they will leave sometimes permanently. And also, it's only happening during this time because this is the time when the ascension process, when the hard work has to be done. So we all chose to be here. This is all pre-contractual. You guys all heeded the call and accepted the mission to be here. So never feel like things are just happening to you. You are a sovereign being. You are in control of your destiny, and you're here for a reason. And you absolutely are stepping up. And so thank you for that. It's a tough time. It's been tough times for everybody. So now we're going to talk about twin rays and why they are appearing at this time. So first of all, what is a twin ray? So I'm sure most of you have heard of a twin flame. So if we were to look at levels, there are so many different levels, but probably the most common ones are soulmates. I'm sure everyone's heard of a karmic relationship. Then we have twin flames, and then we have twin rays. So a soulmate, you can have multiple of them. And your soulmates, can be friends, they can be children, they can be parents. They are beings that you connect with and complement each other. Those are also usually in your primary soul group. So there's two soul groups. There's your primary soul group, which consists of 5 to 25 souls that are equally your spiritual level. And they often follow you through incarnations, and they tend to be, someone you're really close to, friends. Yeah, friends, your soul tribe. So you're going to be very connected to them and feel very drawn to them. So that usually is going to be like your soulmates, or it can even be, I would say soul tribe. Yeah.
Good morning. What does the 525 mean? Is that the number, specific amount counting, or?
Yeah, so that's the number of souls. So the number of people in your primary soul group would be 5 to 25. Now your secondary soul group is a minimum of 1,000 souls. These are the people that are put in your life for spiritual growth. So they're either giving you a leg up or a kick in the butt. They are there to help you ascend in some way, shape, or form. So, these can be those karmic relationships. These can be, teachers. It can be mentors. It can be your partners. It can be parents. It can be spiritual leaders. It can be, and they can either be more advanced than you, or they can be lower, even. And it's all pre-contractual. They chose to come here. You chose them to assist you at this time. So even though it may not feel like it, and it may feel like you didn't choose that, or you would never have chose that event, I promise you did. Not only did you choose the event, but you chose the perpetrator, and chances are they're probably your friend. Because who else would do that for you besides a really close person, right? Who else would be there and want to be there with you at your lowest, and see you and not judge you, at least not in their higher form. So everything, that would be your secondary soul group, and like I said, it's a minimum of 1,000, so you can have quite many. I guess it depends on how many lessons you wanted to learn, huh? So, twin flames. So you can have more than one twin flame. I know there's probably some avenues that might disagree with that, but a lot of people confuse twin flame with twin ray. So twin flames are absolutely, you can have more than one, but it's not as many as soulmates. We're talking a small number. And they may not be here on Earth at this time, and you may not even meet them. They may be only in the astral. But everybody does have a twin flame. Now, the twin flames will essentially be fragments from the same soul group. So there'll be someone from your soul group. So you may have had many incarnations with them, and you chose to incarnate, and they always help in the ascension process. Now, because twin flames are mirrors, if you've not done your shadow work, if you've not done your trauma healing, if you've not integrated, that mirror can sometimes look a little ugly, right? Because we're seeing those dark parts of ourselves reflected back. And they experience and reflect back what you're experiencing because they're your twin flame. And you also are doing the same for them. So that's why you hear a lot of people, now there are such things as trauma bonds, and we don't want to confuse that with twin flames either. Trauma bonds are more contractual. And that's more of that karmic relationship, and that's more for soul growth. But when a trauma bond or karmic relationship is fulfilled, then the relationship will dissolve. It serves its purpose, you move on, and that's it. Now with a twin flames will go away, and sometimes they'll come back, and sometimes they'll go away. And, you know, if you're joining during this time, usually by this point in the ascension process, most everybody has gotten the brunt of their trauma work done and the brunt of their shadow work done. So usually at this point, you know, the twin flame unions will be a little bit more successful, a little bit more permanent, so to speak. Now, twin ray. So these are very rare. So these can be, actually a lot of people that do have them are not on this earth. So their twin ray is up above in the astral realm, usually in ET form or, you know, still on the ship. And they have chosen not to incarnate. They are put together. The reason why you have a twin ray is to completely meet source. It is source embodiment. It is direct connection with the divine. So it is 100%, you know, we are source and source is us. So we are God and God is us, and we see God in them, and that is that connection. So they're the highest level of a romantic soulmate. So the twin ray is kind of what the twin flame relationship would prepare you for. But basically it's blissful, it's dreamy, but like how do you recognize it, right? What are the characteristics? So one of the characteristics are you have the same exact traumas. You've experienced every single trauma the same. And oftentimes same points in the life. You also will have sometimes same scars. You will have, even if you have tattoos, you'll have same tattoo placements. It's really that creepy. You will think alike. You will have extreme telepathy. It will be extreme, and you will know the moment you see that person. It will be a sense of recognition beyond what you can comprehend. It can be very intense. You will not meet your twin ray if you have not done your shadow work or if one partner is denser than the other. And what I mean by that is on the spiritual journey, right, we are ascending levels as we get closer and closer to the ascension process. So if you're on different levels, it will be almost impossible for you guys to connect. You may connect virtually, but you won't be able to physically connect in the most divine way. They are equal parts divine masculine and divine feminine. So the male counterpart will be embodying that divine masculine with the core feminine, and the female will be divine feminine with the core masculine, and it will be in perfect harmony and balance, and you will bring that out in each other. And so it's a celebration of that, because that's source, right? That's that divine union. So those energies will be balanced, and it will be a reflection, because again, it's still the mirror aspect, but you're going to mirror all those beautiful energies too. There's no soul contracts anymore. All contracts have been served, so karmic relationships will be put to rest, and they will be, you know, everything will be served and ready for the ascension process at this time. So the only soul contract you would have would be with each other. And so if there is work to be done, like I said, it's going to be a little difficult to connect. And so basically your place in life won't be on equal footing until that work is done, then the union can happen. So once the proper vibration and frequency is achieved, then that union will happen. And it's what is described as an alchemical wedding, because it's literally the marriage between soul, source, and body and mind. So it is the most divine alignment that you can achieve. And they are rare. Now, there are different types. There's the one I mentioned where the soul is not on Earth, and then there's one where the soul is universal, meaning from multi-universes. Then there is the rarest one, which is they're both universal, and they are both incarnated. It's probably one of the most rare. So I know that's a lot of information, but I kind of want to take this time to kind of answer any questions, or if you guys have any questions for me.
Hi, I have a question about soul contracts. How do you know if you don't have a soul contract with someone?
So soul contracts usually stem or manifest in the way of some kind of karmic relationship. And I don't mean relationship like romantic. It could be any kind of relationship that you feel bound to somebody. So this supersedes, logical thinking. Like, if it's a karmic relationship, it's like you want to leave, but you can't. You feel like you physically can't. There's something holding you. It's beyond your control. That is a soul contract. I'm not talking about pet soul contracts. Those are a different thing, but I'm talking about a soul contract with another being. So if you have that to serve, you're not going to meet your twin ray. You have to serve out all of those karmic connections. I hope that answered your question.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing all this info with us. I have a question. So can a karmic partner that you do the work with turn into a twin flame or a twin ray?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. Actually, that is true. So that can happen. It's not common, I'll be honest, but it can happen. And usually that stems from someone a starseed who is not awakened, who is going through the ascension journey late. But that is for your soul's growth too, right? Because in a sense, the soul contract is still with them, right? So it's still fulfilling the requirements, but it's also karmic. So once the karmic bond is fulfilled, then the new one is awakened. And so that's kind of how it can work. So absolutely it can. And then literally it will start with a karmic relationship, then it'll keep going through the levels. It'll become soulmate, then twin flame, and then twin ray. So thank you for the question.
I know that you already, there's a lot of information that you're sharing with us. Thank you. And it can be very overwhelming too. But my question is, is it really important for us to know if we are hybrid, starseeds, this, that, or the other?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It is important, and I'm going to tell you why. So being a hybrid soul, this ascension journey is about integration, right? It's about coming to awareness of who you are and the powerful being that you are. We all are a starseed. We all have the potential to ascend and be powerful beings and help humanity at this time. You all chose to be here. You're here for a reason. You being here right now at this conference is a clear indication that you're on this journey with me. So if you're on this journey, you have a purpose, you have a goal, you've got a mission. Now, as to what that is, that's a personal question, and I won't pretend to know or answer, or I might can answer, but I'm not going to. But you are here for that reason, and once you have this knowledge and this awareness, that's like a level up. It's an upgrade, right? Knowledge is power. All right, and when you are remembering, because this is the time of remembrance, we're not learning anything new. We are remembering what we already know at a soul level and a higher density level. So we are remembering our gifts, we're remembering who we are, so that we can become those multidimensional beings, so that we can become superhuman in the new earth, so that we can continue to ascend, to continue to align with those frequencies and vibrations that the new earth is. So I hope that answers your question. A lot of hands up. We've got 3 here. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you feel like you're in a soul contract with someone, it was at first advantageous to you, but now you feel like you are no longer on the same vibrational frequency with them, and it's not for your highest and greatest good. Can you say, universe, I want to cancel this contract that I have with this person?
Well, so if you already feel like that, I would say that the soul contract has been fulfilled. So your awareness of that already tells you that I'm finished. This has served me. It's no longer my highest good. It's no longer allowing me to live in my authenticity and my truest, highest timeline. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I have to mention this speech is the highest frequency ever. And just like energies within energy, frequencies within frequencies, realities within realities, and thoughts within thoughts, and universes within universes. This is, you're very lucky to be here to hear everything she said. So she's literally a god, a creator of the other universe.
We are all gods and goddesses.
Yes, you are. And everyone here is not less than her. Exactly. Yeah. And God definitely loves this girl here.
God loves all of us.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you so much. And every one of you here. Thank you.
If you have a question, just raise your hand so I can see beforehand, so I can kind of reposition
Jump up and
myself.
down, shake it all about, do the hook.
So I have a question about integrating soul fragments. A lot of times it's presented as a positive thing, but is it ever something where maybe it's not a positive thing to have a whole bunch of soul fragments come? Or can an individual choose or want to claim more of their original self back? Or could you talk about that whole general area, please?
Absolutely. Soul integration. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a key word you used. You said positive, okay? That is a human emotion, all right? Positive and negative, good, bad, those are human emotions. Energy is just energy. It is not ascribed with emotion. All spectrums of the light and dark are from source. You cannot know light without the absence of it, full stop. You have to know sometimes all the spectrum of the dark so that you can embody all spectrum of the light. So when you say positive, I want to change that to soul growth, okay, soul expansion. So integrations can sometimes not feel those higher density vibrations, those higher density emotions like love and joy and laughter and humor. They can be lower density too, right? They can be fear, they can be anger, they can be those intense lower lust, all of those lower density emotions. It's always for your soul's growth. So even if you feel like, oh, this is a lot, it's a lot during this time. But remember, this is all for your soul's growth. And you absolutely are a sovereign being. You can choose if you want to ascend or not. But to ascend is to have growth. And it's not always comfortable, right? Think about every major trauma that's ever happened in your life. Yeah, it was horrible, but did you learn from it? Did you grow? If you can honestly say no, I'm going to tell you to look in the mirror again, because I guarantee you it changed you. And that change is a direct reflection of your growth. Now, it can change sometimes where you think it's not for the better. You might be bitter, you might be jaded or guarded. But that strength, because it also brings strength and courage, that will help you become more sovereign later on. So even if you can't see the bigger picture now, in the future, your higher self knows. And everything is for your growth. But to answer your question, if you don't want to integrate, like I said, you can choose not to ascend. You can. But if you want to ascend, you have got to integrate those higher parts. Because the whole point of ascension is to become more than what you are, not less. You want to become more, and how do you do that? By growing, expanding. So you want to feel those experiences, even if they don't feel comfortable or they don't bring you peace or joy. Because the bigger picture in the long run is they will. I hope that answered your question.
Hello, Mina. I'm here.
Hi. I'm short.
It's not my mother language, so...
It's beautiful, though.
I will try to do my best. What I didn't get so far, I'm born on Earth. I'm one aspect of a soul, just one aspect. And there are several others aspects or parts in other dimensions, can be on other planets, can be on Earth, other dimensions. How many parts and how does it work?
So one of the reports that I do is called a galactic origin history report, and I use your natal chart. So I use your time of birth, your place of birth, and your location of birth to bring up the planetary alignment. So it's not exactly like a natal chart. It's not using astrology in the strictest sense of the word because it's something I developed with Source. So essentially, you will use those planetary aspects to figure out all the planetary systems that you've incarnated as. Now, I will say there are different levels. So the beginner soul will have 6 to 7 incarnations. The intermediate, well, it can go up to 9 for the beginner, but 9 is the cusp. So then intermediate would be 9 to 12 being the cusp, and then advanced would be 12 to 18. Now, I know a lot of you have had Akashic readings, and you get told, oh, you've had X amount of human lives, you've had X amount of ET lives. You have to understand something about the Akashic records. You have to understand something about when you come to a new life, a new species, how that works. You wouldn't go into 5th grade without having prior knowledge of kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade. It wouldn't work, right? You can't succeed. So oftentimes we are given implanted memories. Dolores Cannon has done some of this work. She actually talks about these implanted memories where she talks to the higher self, and the higher self is like, no, all these human lives are implanted. Because if you've lived outside in the galaxies, in other galaxies, in other universes, you absolutely have not been human. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you're not born into that karmic cycle. You chose to come here during this earth, and you only incarnated as human during this time to do the work, to help humanity ascend, to help and learn and go through this experience. Sometimes you can be a watcher. You could choose to be a watcher. You don't actually have to assist in the great grand awakening. But even by just being here, your energy affects those around you. So to answer your question, it depends. You can have multiples. But I would say the minimum would be 5 to 6 incarnations. So even if you were a brand new soul, you still would have had at least that many, being a starseed. Now, there are exceptions. There are people who started out as human who are in that human karmic cycle. And I call that, and others do as well, the Egyptian timeline. So that would be people who had karma, that are serving karmic contracts, that during this ascension process were chosen to ascend to the starseed timeline to assist humanity with their gifts. These are usually people who have advanced gifts like medium, psychic abilities, healing, things like that. And the ETs will come to them and decide, and they will literally get ET upgrades. They have dreams of them being taken into ships and being, worked on, and basically given implants, good implants, all contractual, all agreement, consensual, to help facilitate them so that they can do their job on the starseed timeline. So if you want to know if you've had many incarnations, you can see me. I will be doing stuff outside for the galactic, in-person galactic history reports. But I will tell you it does take 2 hours because most souls are very advanced, especially if you're here during this time. You've got a reason to be here. Hope that helps.
I have a grandson who's considered high-level autism, but I really have come to believe that there's 2 souls living in him, and one is really high advanced, a real old soul, and the other is just troubled, like someone from Germany during the war or something. I mean, just heavy stuff. And those 2, the denser one has wanted to take over the older soul, like kind of sabotage him. And so I've been working really with them as 2 souls. Mm-hmm. And I've seen this in a couple other people that have come to me that I'm working with, probably because he's in my family and they're attracted to that. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So one of the signs of being an advanced starseed is having autism or being on the spectrum or Asperger's or anything like that. I believe it or not, I'm actually on the spectrum, very little, but I am on the spectrum. It's a symptom of not being able to cope with this human existence. Essentially, when you are a higher density being that is inhabiting a lower density physicality, you have trouble assimilating. So I had trouble growing up. I had trouble with like gravity. I had trouble with like my disassociation with my body. I mean, I'd look and be like, why is there 5 fingers? Like, you know, it's so weird to me. You know, trouble assimilating to oxygen and just different things on Earth. Autism is that. I mean, it really is just a trouble integrating. Now, most Starseed children at this time are on that spectrum. Now, with the double kind of binary soul thing that he's got going on, so if you think to my embodiment talk, that he could be embodying or integrating that side. Now, because of the autism aspect, there is trouble integrating. But that's obviously pre-contractual. He was born with autism, right? So another things that I do in my galactic report when we talk about karma and karmic connections is if there is unpaid karmic balance when you pass in your last incarnation, it will manifest as instant karma. What is instant karma? Instant karma manifests in 3 different ways. One is a physical handicap. The other one is a mental handicap. And the third is trauma as a child. It could be physical, it could be emotional. This is because it's against, you don't have a choice in the matter. So it's pre-contractual. You chose to yourself to pay back karma that way. That's different than karma incurred during this life cycle. So that is pre-contractual. So that journey that he's going of battling it and integrating that, and just be there for him to support it and just know that it is all by choice and this is the path that he's chosen. And as we continue to ascend, that those integration will be closer and compressed and start to unify. Absolutely. Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here.
My question is about your pre-incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
When you spoke about that, galaxy planners, pre-incarnation. Were you a wing maker? Can you speak to a little bit of that prior to? Because we know that there was vastness prior to we all started playing the game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is basically 12 iterations, 12 universes that were created by the archangels in the Union of Days. Without getting really technical, Ishmael Perez is going to cover that in his lecture. I highly recommend you go to talk about it. But that was one of my previous incarnations as an archangel. So I have created a universe. It was not this one. But essentially, there are different parts and players. So the archangels are in charge of creating the different celestial bodies. That's why we're often confused with the celestial bodies, because we do help create them. And we're all under different prime creators, and each prime creator of each universe is another primordial mother source, who is the creator of all of us. So there are different aspects. So you could have been a planet, you could have been a star, you could have been the vast blackness, that the empty space, the antimatter, so to speak. You could have played any of those parts. You could have even just been the love that envelops different systems as it goes on its creation journey. So pre-creation, also that would be the central race too. So the central race of the Emerald Order is also part of that pre-creation beings that were just pillars of light. So they didn't have form, but this is just energy that were the original separation from source consciousness and from primordial mother source, not prime creator source of this universe. So this universe was created by Lord Michael, the Archangel. And so the other universes each had their own archangel / archaea, who was in charge of those universes. So there are different levels before this, before beings. So that's why I always say this universe. And there are a lot of species that don't come from this universe. Andromedans, Arcturians, and Lyrians, and Blue Avians do not come from this universe, and neither Draconians. So there's lots of species that come from different universes, and each universe has its own, mission and purpose and its own creator. Any last question before? What?
Hi. How do I know like you give talk about hybrid, so genetic hybrid embodiment twin race. How do I know what am I or in this?
Yeah, so if you exhibit any of those characteristics that I had on the slide, and if you didn't get a chance to take a picture and you want to get with me after, I can help you just take a picture so you have them. But if you experience any of those characteristics, then you most likely will fall under that. But if you want to know for sure, you can see me. I'll be able to let you know with 100% certainty if you're a hybrid soul, an embodiment. But usually a walk-in will always know. An embodiment will know if they've been embodied because you're conscious of it. You're aware of it. If you're a genetic hybrid, well, I think all of us would know because we would look at you and be able to tell. As far as a hybrid soul, there's a couple different methods I can use to identify. And as far as twin flame, twin ray, again, if you do a galactic reading with me, it will show up in your chart. I just want to say again, thank you so much, and I have so much gratitude for you all being here at this time, and thank you for making this journey. I know a lot of you traveled very far, and I'm so grateful and so happy that you did, and you found your way here and get to experience all the energy that is Mount Shasta, right? It's a beautiful area. I haven't been here in 30,000 years. So I went to the portal there at the top to where I opened into Telos with another Archangel, and we got to experience that energy, and it was amazing where we helped the Lumerians into Telos. So I encourage you to see as many talks as you can. Definitely go see Ishmael Perez. He's got a wealth of information, and it is absolutely in alignment. So I just thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a good experience here. Thank you.